What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be talking about how quarterbacks can deal with a bad offensive line and bad wide receivers who drop the ball. Let's get started. Now, before we get into this video, fellas, if you're a QB and would like to train with myself and my staff of coaches this offseason, check out that very first link in the description below. We are coming out to 15 different states across the U.S. for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver camps. Next up on our camp tour, we'll be coming out to San Francisco, California. Then we'll be heading out to Miami, Florida, Las Vegas, Nevada, Charlotte, North Carolina, Portland, Oregon. Then we'll be coming out to Dallas, Texas. Then we'll be heading out to Nashville, Tennessee, Chicago, Illinois, Buffalo, New York, Atlanta, Georgia, Houston, Texas, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Detroit, Michigan, Boise, Idaho, and Los Angeles, California. So again, fellas, if you're local to any one of those cities, would like to train with us, we'd love to have you out. So check out that very first link in the description below. Let's get back to this video. All right, so we're going to start with the offensive line first, and then we're going to be talking about what you can do to help your wide receivers start catching the ball more, running better routes from a quarterback perspective. So if you have problems with the offensive line, like maybe they're not blocking the best for you, maybe they're a little bit younger, maybe they just aren't as talented, whatever the case may be, number one, you have to be positive with those guys. An offensive lineman does not want to hear it from a quarterback because, again, you cannot walk a mile in their shoes. You couldn't even do it if you wanted to, right? If you're a quarterback, not an offensive lineman, you couldn't block the killers that they got on that defensive line trying to come and take your head off. So they don't want you trying to tell them how to do their job, just like how you don't want them telling you how to throw a pass and how to complete a pass, right? It's two separate skills. So you have to be positive with those guys. You never want to be negative with those guys. Now, does that mean that you can't like light them up like, hey, let's go, come on, like let's get it together? No, that doesn't mean that. If you're that type of leader and they respect you like that, 100% you could get into them a little bit, but do not tell them how to do their job. Leave that to the offensive lineman and the offensive line coach. I was always extremely positive with my offensive linemen, and so when they missed a block, they legitimately felt bad about it, and that made them want to try harder the next play to never give up a sack. Every single sack that I ever took, I had offensive linemen helping me up because they felt so dang bad about it, and that's how you should have your offensive line feel. You never want to be negative with those guys. Number two, you have to help them out as a quarterback. You cannot be that guy that is immobile back there. If you're a guy that can't move around, there is nothing more that can help an offensive line than a quarterback who could extend the play. You look at all these guys like Russell Wilson in his prime. You look at Kyler Murray when he was, playing. He hasn't played well recently, but guys, he's in the NFL. He's a very, very talented quarterback. You look at guys like, who's another example? Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes especially, Josh Allen. They all buy time for their offensive line. It makes them look better than what they actually are. And I'm not saying that they're bad, but it makes them look better for sure because they can buy time. So that's something that I suggest you work on in the offseason at practice on your own time. Work on your pocket footwork. Work on different cone drills that work on you stepping up in the pocket, stepping back, throwing on the run, extending the play. All of those things are going to help your offensive line, especially if they're not as talented. I remember when my offensive line, I was playing a game in high school, and we were going up against one of the best defensive lines in the entire state of California, right? They had like two guys going to USC, a couple other guys at Pac-12, like crazy defensive line. My left tackle got hurt on the first play. My left guard got hurt on the second play. I got sacked probably 8 times in the first half that game. I don't even remember how many times I got sacked. That's how many times I got sacked. But what I would do during that game, I would try to help them out the best I could. I wouldn't get on them because we had backups in there, right? So I'd take the snap, and immediately after the snap, I'd start drifting. You know what I mean? I'd get into my drop, but I would take an angled drop. I'd drift away from the pressure. I'd try to buy any time I could to help them out. So you have to make sure you take care of those things as a quarterback because oftentimes it's not on the offensive line 100%. It's on the quarterback. And then last but not least, you guys got to understand when you got to get the ball out of your hands, right? I could sit here and say, hey, you want to have a quick release, that's going to help you out. But a lot of times quarterbacks don't know when to have a quick release. Like let's say, for example, it's cover 0, right? So there's no safeties back there. Everybody's manned up. Let's say we're in like let's say we're in an empty set, right? Let's say we're in empty. 3 wide receivers to the left, 2 wide receivers to the right, empty backfield. You see it's man coverage all the way out there. You got 5 DBs on the field, all in man. How many people are left? What's 11 minus 5? You got 6, right? So you got 6 people coming at you, giving you pressure. How many linemen do you have? 5. That means there's one unblocked guy. And if that one unblocked guy sacks you, guess what? That's on you, quarterback. That's on us. We didn't get the ball out of my hands. We didn't have a plan to get rid of this thing because we didn't recognize the coverage. So there are other things that quarterbacks can do besides blaming the offensive line. So you never want to be negative. You want to take responsibility for some things that you can do personally to help out those big boys up front. All right, so now we're going to talk about what you can do when you have receivers who maybe aren't the most talented from the quarterback perspective. So let's say, for example, maybe they're getting open, but they're dropping passes, or maybe they can't get separation, whatever it is. And it's kind of the same thing that I was talking about with the offensive line. Be positive with those guys. And guys, just like when you throw a pick, like let's say you throw an insanely bad interception over the middle, really bad pick. You come to the sideline, you know you threw the pick. Like you know you screwed up, you know you made a mistake, you know you threw a bad pass, and the last thing you want is to hear it from a coach, and let alone another player, about how much you suck and how much you need to do better on the next play, because you know you need to do better on the next play. That's what a receiver feels when he drops a pass. Guys, like, no receiver sets out to drop passes, and no receiver doesn't care if they drop passes. He drops a pass, and I know it might seem like that, but if he drops a pass, guys, he knows he drops a pass. You got to pick him up, be like, hey man, let's go, come on. Like, let's get the next one. Like, don't be that guy who's like, man, come on, what the hell are you doing? You suck. Like, I've seen quarterbacks do that, and they lose the team. Guys, like, literally, they will lose. Guys will not want to play for them and not want to give them any type of effort outside of the required practice time to help the team elevate and help the team get better. That's not a leader. You know what I mean? At least in my opinion. I wouldn't want a guy telling me that when I played receiver, and I wouldn't want somebody when I played quarterback telling me how to do my job. Pick them up, be a good teammate, and be willing to work with them. That's the second thing. So first thing is you got to be positive with them. Second thing is you got to be willing to work with them. If they're struggling to catch the ball, they're struggling with the offense, as a quarterback, it's your responsibility to make sure the team elevates to your level. You're only as strong as your weakest link. So if you're a quarterback and you're great, like let's say you're college Division I level talent, but you don't have Division I level talent around you, you have to elevate their talent. That's the type of leader that you should be. So you got to put in extra time with those guys. Show up early before practice and let's warm up with them. Let's work on their hands. Stay later after practice, 30, 45 minutes, and work on plays, route combinations, their catching. Again, invite your receivers out to your quarterback training sessions. You have to do these things, fellas. And if you're not willing to do these things, you're not cut out for the quarterback position, because the quarterback position requires a ton of extra work. Now, last but not least, with the receivers, you got to let them know that you trust them. You have to let them know that, hey, I'm going to come back to you on this next play, and you want to strategize with them. Be like, hey, if we see this coverage, you're going to do this. If we see this, you're going to do that. You need to strategize with them to let them know that you still trust them, and that gives them some confidence. Even if you don't feel like it, they want to hear it from you as a player and as a quarterback, because they value your opinion. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. We always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you are a quarterback and would like to train with us this offseason, check out that very first link in the description below. We're coming out to 15 different states all over the country, from Miami, Florida, San Francisco, to Buffalo, New York, all over the place, fellas. So again, very first link in that description below. I'll see you guys next time.